Let's get into a big interview video, man. Hold on, man. Y'all don't even know my name. It's your boy, TheRealPsw. We're finna get into a big interview video, man. Alright, you know what? I'm finna actually create a series on here. So we're actually going to be reacting. Our series is going to be horror story. Horror, scary. You already know what I'm trying to say. I'm a scary person. Not a scary person. I like scary stuff. And yeah, I feel like that'll be a good, series for us to go on. And then we're gonna start with animated. We're actually gonna react to 3 true creepy horror stories animated. You know what I'm trying to say? So this is number 1, and I hope you guys enjoy the series. If y'all do, make sure y'all subscribe, like, comment, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Cause who would want to miss an upload from TheRealPsw? Like, come on now, bro, let's get ready. But yeah, so we're gonna watch 3 true creepy horror, and y'all tell me in the comment section which one y'all enjoyed the best. And yeah, thank you. Y'all let me know how y'all liking the videos, man. We know we come out with bangers every day. All right, let's get into it.
Last year was my senior year of high school, and my friend group was always full of dumb ideas. All it took was a boring weekend night for us to go out and find anything to entertain us. That's exactly what happened this night. It was me and my 2 other friends, hanging out and just trying to think of something to do.
Walking up to him like that.
One of them, Mikey, had been talking of this abandoned place nearby for the past few weeks. We pushed it off for a while, but now with nothing to do, it didn't sound all that bad of an idea to go exploring.
Why I always gotta be the dumb kid? Like, abandoned place. Why are you going there? What? Nah, you know what? If something happens to you, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
He said it was a house on the edge of town where all the farmland was.
He trying to set
aside
y'all
from
up.
the location, that was about all he knew. Me and the other friend shrugged and said why not, and within 15 minutes we were on the road. We drove for a half hour until we reached the point where Mikey said to turn off onto an unpaved road, and a few minutes later we exited the tree line and were right in front of the house. It was a very large house with a huge plot of abandoned farmland around it. We got out of the car and each took a flashlight, then approached the front door. I turned the knob and it was unlocked, but when I tried shoving it open, it was blocked by something heavy on the other side.
A dead body?
We went around to the back and tried the back door, but that door was locked. We resorted to crawling through a busted window on the side of the house. As soon as we were in, a strong, awful smell took over. It was like a mixture of mold and rotting animal carcass. I mean...
Do y'all not know when a dead body sits for too long, it obviously smells like shit, and y'all are still there? Oh, I want to go explore the bandit. Like, bro, come on, bro.
This was the worst smell I'd ever experienced by a long shot. My friends didn't seem as fazed as I was, so we kept moving in.
Yeah, your friends.
Right away, we noticed footprints all throughout the dusty hallway floors. We thought nothing of it because we figured this place had basically been a tourist attraction for stupid teenagers like us. The whole place was unnervingly empty though. There wasn't any old furniture or garbage on the floor. As we walked through the first few rooms, we reached the hallway that led to the front door. And against the front door was an old couch with a bunch of boxes on top of it.
Like
whoever had done that had taken what looked like everything from inside the house just to block the front door from opening. We continued up the stairs to see if the upstairs rooms were emptied too. At the top of the steps, I shined my flashlight down the hallway. There were 3 doors.
It's always 3
doors. We opened the first 2, and they were both empty bedrooms. Then I opened the third, and not surprisingly, it was empty too, but this room was much smaller than the others. The reason this confused all of us was because there were no more rooms next to it. So based on the layout of the house, it was easy to assume that this room was supposed to be double the size of the others, since there were no more doors. With nothing left to see, we started back down the stairs, but as we got halfway down, we all heard the same thing. It sounded like a ball hitting the floor.
Man, hell, that shit sound like Gurgor.
Then quickly and intentionally being stopped. It came from upstairs where we just were. Cautiously, we checked each of the rooms again.
If you hear some shit, why do you go back upstairs? Why? Leave!
And found nothing. All of us hearing the exact same thing
What?
made it extra odd because we all knew it happened, but there was nothing upstairs. After that, we were all getting uncomfortable and we quickly left the house through the same window we came in from. We walked to the front where the car was and got in. Just before I pulled out though, I noticed 2 windows upstairs on the left side of the house, and I specifically remembered that the small room we were confused by only had 1 window. I pointed this out to my friends, and we all sat there staring at the second floor windows
Is
and
y'all heart
trying to
pounding? I don't
figure
know
out
why
what was
these
going on.
shits be getting me like this.
Then there was a sudden flicker of a shadow moving across the blinds, followed by a dim light glowing from behind the window. In the light, the figure of a man could be seen looking out the window at us.
Oh nah.
I put the car in drive, did a
Putting a
U-turn,
Hellcat in
and
sport?
sped down the dirt road, getting out of there as fast as possible. After some discussion, Mikey convinced us to call the police, but the police
Why did they go back to the same restaurant or same gas station? What? Why not go home?
found nothing in the house. Whoever was there had moved out and probably took everything with them. When I think back on it now, I'm just happy that we didn't try too hard to search for any more rooms when we were up there. If we did, I wouldn't doubt it if whoever was hiding in there was prepared to take drastic measures not to be found.
Oh, we
This
got a
happened
camping
almost
one.
4 years ago now, on a road trip I was taking across the country. I'm a frequent traveler and adventurer, going on long road trips and stopping at great hiking and camping locations all around the nation. At the time, I had been on the road for well over a month and was taking a short break at a small town in Nevada. While at the bar talking with the locals,
Nevada
they
always
asked
got
me if
some
I was
weird
here
shit
to
going
see
on.
the mines. I didn't know exactly what they meant and asked for more details, and they all talked about
Bro,
how
what
there
the
were
fuck? Bro, look at these people in the back, bro. Nah, hell nah, bro. Why? What the fuck?
hundreds of abandoned mines and mining towns all over
Look
the
at this
state.
nigga, but he on crack.
When I went back to my camper that night, I looked it up and found all these interesting mines not far from where I was. I had planned to just pass through Nevada as a whole, but after seeing this, I couldn't help myself. The next day, I set out for one of the abandoned mining towns. The actual hiking portion only took an hour and a half, but it was mostly uphill. When I arrived, the town was on a flat portion of the large hill. There were 20 to 30 small wooden buildings, and in the center of the town was a railroad leading into the hill where the mine entrance was. I walked along this railroad, looking at the identical rows of wooden structures. I was more interested in the actual mine than I was in the ghost town, but it was still cool to see.
It's a
I
ghost
checked
town
out
and
one
you
of the
still going to the
structures,
mine?
but it was full of dirt and rubble, and I was sure that all the others would probably be the same. At the entrance to the mine, I took out my flashlight, and when I pointed it through, the tunnel was so long that I couldn't even see the end. I started walking, and the further inside I got, the more quiet everything was, until eventually, it was just the sound of my footsteps echoing through the mine. After a couple minutes, I reached the end of the railroad tracks and was met by a sign that said the area beyond was closed. Of course, I walked past it. The tunnel very quickly became shallower and less well-rounded. There was then a turn that started going down at a slope, and at one section of it, the floor had caved in. Someone before me had set up some makeshift walkway to get across the opening, but it seemed incredibly dangerous and unstable.
It's the fact that he's saying everything of why not to go into the cave, and he's still going into the cave. Bro, I would have been out of the cave with shit going down my drawers, going down my pants, and I didn't even see nothing yet, bro. I would have just been done.
I pointed the flashlight down, and the drop was enough to have me permanently trapped if I were to fall. I decided to turn back and went down one of the other side passages that I'd passed up previously, and found myself at a ladder going down a steep tunnel. Again, I shined my flashlight and saw that the bottom of the ladder wasn't even visible. I started my
And he
descent,
goes down?
but not long into it, I heard something from below. It was a loud thud echoing through the mine. The echo made it hard to know how close or far it was. I pointed my flashlight down, and while I didn't see the cause of the sound, I did see the bottom. I climbed down and found myself at the base of another passageway, and a few feet in, I found what caused the thud. There was a large rock sitting in the middle of the tunnel, which I thought could have fallen from the ceiling, but it wasn't hard to tell
get the fuck
that
outta
it was an
here.
entirely different kind of rock, which begged the question, how did it fall and create a thud? I got my answer when I pointed the flashlight further down the tunnel. Two almost unidentifiable people stood in the middle of the passage about 10 feet down. One man and one woman. I knew from one look
That boy
they
got
were not
high in a matter of 10
explorers.
seconds.
The way they looked at me was like they didn't even know I was a person. I started backing up, being cautious with my movements to not make them feel threatened in any way. When I got to the ladder, I dreaded putting the flashlight in my pocket and started climbing up. Part of the way up, I swear, I heard someone grab onto the rungs below me and begin climbing up quickly. I looked down and saw nothing but darkness. I screamed and began climbing up as fast as I could. I sprinted out.
Why do we scream knowing that it's not really gonna do nothing after the fact? Like, we seen it, but then when we're running, we're screaming. We didn't scream when we seen it, but now that we're running, we're screaming. Why do we do that? Why?
Of the mine and away from the ghost town. During the hike back, I collected my thoughts, thinking maybe what I heard was their footsteps, and in the moment I'd just mistaken it for them climbing up after me, but it was still terrifying. I drove down to a police station in the area and reported what had happened, but as far as I know, the police didn't do any sort of search or anything, despite me telling them that they looked malnourished and deeply insane. Even if they didn't know it themselves, they seriously needed help. I did some digging online since then, and thought of some interesting theories as to why they may have been there to begin with. There were several cases from around the area of couples that went missing within the past 10 years, mostly due to committing horrible crimes and likely running away from the police. It just makes me think how if that were to be true, and these were two people who'd committed terrible crimes, then I was very lucky to have escaped after seeing them.
They got away.
Me and my best friend Glenn grew up in a small town.
Bro,
far
why do
from
the
any-
people look like this? Look at this fucker. Like he's on fucking fentanyl and meth. This man don't even have a mouth. That man has a, what's that thing? The greatest or least common sign on his face. And this man face is fucking, alright.
big cities. The population was less than 1,000, so yeah, it was very local, and everyone knew everyone. Growing up, rumors would spread about various creepy things that would go on in the town.
Why is she so
Almost
damn
likely
swole with
fake,
saggy
but
ass
one of the
titties?
words that would spread was of this small community a few miles out in the surrounding woods that was abandoned decades ago. By the time Glenn and I were in high school, we found out from multiple people that the community was actually real and there was a whole history to it. After finding that out, it was impossible for us to resist the urge to go out there and see what all the talk was about. We tried planning the whole trip out, but in the end, we just packed a backpack with some water and flashlights, then headed into the woods. We got some basic directions to this poorly made trail that supposedly led there, and we followed it down for about 3 miles, but then it ended. There were no other trails or anything, it was just a dead end. My immediate thought was that we'd been set up by some elaborate prank, but Glenn wasn't convinced. He somehow got me to follow him for another half mile through the woods, not following any trail or directions. By then, we'd already been out longer than expected, and the sun wasn't at its highest. I was nervous about getting lost without the sunlight or a clear path to follow. But just before we turned back, Glenn spotted a shape in the distance. It was too far to see exactly what, but it was rigid and definitely man-made.
They look like
As we got closer, the shape revealed itself to be a worn and broken down cabin. The roof had caved in, and it looked like people had been around here recently. But when we walked around to the other side of the cabin, there was a large field where all the trees had been cut down. In the field stood 6 cabins of
Why are y'all still there? Why are you still there? God.
varying sizes, along with a few other structures that I couldn't really identify. Both of us were shocked to actually have found this place, and in person, it was way creepier than we ever could have imagined. The houses were all falling apart in one way or another. We walked over to one of the cabins close to us and went inside. It was trashed, but it looked like most of the furniture, like wooden chairs and tables, were still intact and sitting in the same place they had been decades ago. The sunset was casting long shadows on everything, which really just gave it all an eerie feeling. I went into what I think was supposed to be the bedroom, but as I looked around, I heard someone walking outside the cabin.
Hell nah.
I turned around to give Glenn a nervous look, but he wasn't there. Staying quiet, I looked through a crack in the wall to see if the person outside was Glenn, but as the footsteps came closer, I caught sight of them. It was a tall, old man.
What the fuck? This is what, Pennywise mixed with Leonardo DiCaprio? Look at the nips. Look at the nips. They're fucking lopsided in the belly. Bro has a lump on his right shoulder. And man looked like a pedophile and a gentleman at the same time. What the
50s, half naked, and the clothes he did have on were torn and disgusting. He walked past the cabin, and I turned back and started looking through the rooms for Glenn, but he must have left at some point. I exited through an empty window frame and stayed behind the cabin as I tried to scan the whole field for any sign of Glenn, but I saw no signs of him. I assumed he was exploring one of the other houses, but I had no idea if he was even aware of this man that had just entered the abandoned community. In my frantic state of moving around the outside of the cabin and searching for Glenn, I realized I'd lost sight of the man. I was struggling to keep myself calm, and the whole woods was getting darker by the minute. Then all of a sudden, there was a horrifying scream from the other side of the abandoned town. I peered around the cabin and saw Glenn running through the open field.
That boy gone.
Once he saw me, we both ran into the woods back toward home. Thankfully, we found the trail before the sun fully set.
What did he see?
Because once the sun went down, we could only see a few feet ahead. When we finally got back, I asked Glenn what happened. He said he was exploring one of the houses, and as he did, he started to realize that it didn't look as abandoned as the others, and someone was likely living there. When he turned to leave, the same man I'd seen was standing on the other side of the cabin, holding a knife. He described his eyes as having a look of hunger, and without hesitation, the man charged at him. Glenn screamed and ran, and I guess the man didn't chase very far. We don't know what that man would have done to us, but it was stupid to have even gone to that abandoned town in the first place. And it almost cost us our lives to figure that out.
Bro, it looks like they're on fentanyl. I swear. Nah, but that was good. Hey, man. Bro, I love horror story anime. They're so funny because like it's just like once they put in perspective and it's animated, I don't know, it's just better. It's just a lot better. You feel me? But yeah, man, if y'all really enjoyed this video, man, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that and make sure y'all share and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. But yeah, man, y'all tell me which one was y'all favorite out of the 3. I'm gonna say me personally, my favorite was the first one. It was very suspenseful. And I didn't really know that, like, the two windows, that was a good hook that he put on with that, with the two windows thing. But yeah, I genuinely like the first one. Y'all let me know in the comment section which one y'all like. And it's your boy, TheRealPsw, and we out.